Morning. Well, it's the day after our first audience. So at the moment, I'm the only person here, and what we've actually got is the remnants of last night's show, including actually, if I go down here, look, yeah, that's glitter. That's Peter Pan for you. Comes down in the finale, clear it up later. But I figured what I'll do is I'll show you around the stage, and being Peter Pan, show you the bit that probably you're more interested in. How do we make Peter Pan fly? Don't tell the kids, it's not real. Now, when I first started flying people in pantomimes, which was probably 20 years ago when I sort of first got involved with it, we had a couple of ropes at the side of the stage. Heave on this one, and whoever was up in the air would head towards the middle of the stage from the side, and heave on this one, and they'd come back. And then we had another rope that you heaved on that made them go up and down. And it was actually quite a clever little thing. Foys, the people who sort of historically are the sort of leaders in flying people, had a gizmo called the compensator. And it meant that if you put someone who weighed 10 stone, you only have to heave 5 stone and they would go up in the air. So it means that, you know, one person can quite safely lift a fairly hefty person off the ground. And we use that for years. But now we do something a little bit different. This gadget replaces the compensator because what it does is attach the winch to the ground, lift the person up. So nobody has to hold the weight of Peter Pan or whoever you're flying. The winch does that automatically, and it's very clever. It's all computerized. We've actually got a controller there, and the controller allows the person or the object that you're flying to go up and down at different speeds, and you can program starts and stops. So if you press the button, it will go up to a certain height. It will decelerate gently if you want it to, or it will sort of stop pretty quickly. But the idea is that it's all pre-programmed in the rehearsals so that every flight looks exactly the same. And the 2 ropes here, all that happens on here is that these are done manually, and it's really a case of just like that. So you can do it with one hand, there's no problem. And for those interested, the 2 pieces of tape are your cue point. So this tells you when something is in the right place. Obviously, if it's like that, it's not in the right place. Like that, it is. And just to make something travel across the stage, it's just a case of pulling down on these ropes. And then bits of coloured tape will tell you when you're in the right place. So it's really, really simple in real terms. But the winch, of course, is very clever. The main feature of the winch is safety. So these 2 cables here are what hauls the weight that you're going to travel across the stage. And they're sort of aircraft style cables. So not only are they really, really strong, they're also quite flexible. Now, the way this thing works is it's full of sensors, and if things are not right, it stops. So it won't let you do stupid things. If the cable was to get tangled up, it would automatically stop. And one of the checks that we do every day is we run this past your hand. It's the most sensitive part, and you can very often detect anything that's amiss. Now, in most cases, nothing is amiss because it goes from here up into the air, across the top, and then down. We use 2 wires because Peter Pan, in our particular case here, is flown on his left and right hip, which means that he can do tumbles, which is a pretty clever thing. So Peter Pan can actually do a bit of a spin if he wants to, forward and back. That's actually quite difficult to do. I think I managed it once 20 years ago, never done it again, not remotely interested in things like that, especially when you're the weight that I am. But that's what we do here. Now, we fly Peter Pan, we fly Tinkerbell, who is in this panto called Tink, because it's modern. You can see here, these are just like a piece of scribble strip on the side, and it reminds the operators which one each program does. So you can see on there, look, shell preset, shell entrance. There's another one that says land. So when it talks about the shell, that's not a person, that's a thing. So the star of our show, May McFetridge, makes her entrance on this, which is a sort of clamshell. Now realistically they can't fall out because there are all sorts of safety belts and things like that, so it's perfectly safe. And you can see it looks pretty, but it's actually all steel underneath, so it's really heavy. But this is what the entrance is done. So this has to be swapped during the show from flying a person into flying the clamshell. So it's pretty weird, isn't it? But that's how we do it, and that's the secret. I mean, I don't think it's a real secret, because most people, whenever you watch things like Strictly on the TV, you actually see people dangling on 2 cables, and that's what unit is on the end of the cables. This bit's pretty normal. I mean, each side of our stage has got a glaciator at the bottom, which is essentially a very big smoke machine with a built-in freezer unit. So the actual smoke that comes out is chilled, which means it stays low on the stage, a bit like dry ice used to do. And we've got 2, one either side of the stage. And sitting on top of it, of course, is a hazer. We use haze all the time now. You know, light beams being seen are what the lighting people like. So the beams of light from things like the cross light from these Source 4s, you know, from the audience you see these lovely shafts of light in some of the scenes, which really makes it look pretty. Now, we're still using park ends. You know, they're not dead yet. Bright, punchy shafts of light, they do the job really, really well. So we are still using some sort of traditional fixtures. But the weird thing in this show is, why is there a Source 4 on a stand? Well, basically, it's for Tinkerbell. Tinkerbell makes her first entrance, top of the show, about in line with where I'm standing here. And in front of her is our show gauze. Now, you remember from previous videos, I'm sure, that gauze, if they're lit from the audience side, look solid, but if they're lit from behind, they're magically invisible. So what we have, of course, is Tink, got to be modern. Tink flies in behind a gauze. So she needs lighting. You can't use a follow spot from the front like you would normally, because of course that will light up the gauze. So what we do is have a couple of people here who actually follow Tinkerbell with a Source 4. It's got a nice handle on the back that doesn't get hot. So it's not a follow spot, but it's a moving light that we can actually just track as she goes backwards and forwards across the stage. And a guy either side, 2 of our Stage Elects team, do this every night. The sequence lasts about 2 minutes. And this is just in the way normally, but for this scene, it is here. And we can do that as she flies across. So that's a bit odd, isn't it? This show is sort of the continuing adventures of Peter Pan, really. It sort of takes off where the traditional story ends. And we still have these sort of lovely little sort of set pieces, you know, the roofs of London. And then, of course, if you go behind them, you can see exactly how they're made. It's all timber and paint. Here we've got Captain Hook's ship. It's amazing, really, isn't it? So we've got Captain Hook's ship, got loads of junk. It's just all bits of set pieces, including things like this, you know, full of gems. Yeah, it's full of rubies, full of diamonds. No, it's not. They're all made of plastic. But we've got plenty of stuff here. This stuff is crazily detailed when you get close. So, you know, looking up here to a skull, we can actually go up a flight of stairs. So all these things are fully practical. So if we want to, we can actually send people up there. They tend to go up, go across the top, and back down the other side. The weirdest thing is that for artistic reasons, the boat's wheel is designed so that the audience can see the whole wheel. But of course, if you're standing up here, it's on the wrong side. Nobody ever notices. All they see is the wheel. They don't realise that in actual fact, if you actually came up, it's totally useless for steering a ship because it's on the wrong side of that. But that's because it's for the audience, not for the cast. So if you're actually at the top of this, that's the sort of view you get looking down onto the stage. Clearly, in the scene that this is used in, there aren't any street scenes of roofs. Most of it is actually fairly straightforward. It looks really pretty, it lights up, but it lights up in a very quaint way, you know. It really is a skull on the audience side, and on this side, it's a light bulb. And hidden behind here is the thing that I can't show you. That's the crocodile. Everybody knows the show's got a crocodile in it, and it's hidden behind there because it's private and we are not allowed to take pictures of it. So behind there is a big green crocodile that opens its mouth and makes nasty noises, and you can't see that. And yep, behind me are pugil sticks. Now you might say, what are pugil sticks doing in a Peter Pan pantomime? But there we are. Going a bit further, this is another bit. The Lost Boys. Lost children now, of course. Lost Boys, we've got toadstools, we've got a sort of top. You'll have to watch the Panto for this one. But basically, it's a little house. It's small, it's on wheels, and it lives here in that white mark in the wing. So it's a damn great thing, it takes up far too much space, but the crocodile is sitting where this would normally have been put. And so we've got a ship as well. So with a crocodile and a ship, we're a bit stuck for space. At the very edge of the wing, we've sort of managed to sort of use every space we've got going. This is our props table. So this is where all the stuff for the show, you get it. So there we go. That's a few things for you about flying and other things. We'll do some more once we get up and running, sort of, and we've got everything sorted out properly. And I'll tell you about things that go wrong, because there's bound to be some. See you soon. Take care. Look after yourselves.